Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder! Bring the thunder! Let's work. Bring the thunder! Let's go. Bring the thunder! Let's work. Bring the thunder! Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no flight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's work.
Well, good evening and welcome to Mountain Bears. It's going to be a busy night, guys. We got a lot to talk about. Hello, Miss Shannon. How are you? Of course, with me tonight is Techy with us, Techy Joe. How are you, darling?
I am here. How are you?
Oh, I'm around the cosmos, I guess. We'll have to moralize here in a little bit.
Hey, there you go. There you
Oh. So let's start off with one that started your blood boiling. I'm going to work our way
which
out.
one?
Oh, the lovely department DHHR one that I can't get to.
The
You have to tell the story because I can't fill it in.
Oh, yeah, I'm in the same boat. We've apparently hit too much on...
All right, let's use some Patreon money and take care of this, okay?
Ooh. We're spending Patreon money?
Yeah,
Guys,
so
this is what happens.
Patreon money.
We get subscriptions to magazines
Yeah,
and newspapers.
Yep.
Like, we're not buying Bentleys with it, we promise. Like, we're not there yet.
Well, even then, I don't want a Bentley. I mean, that's the hard piece here, people.
Hey, Mary. Hey, Brenda. Hey, Shannon.
All right, so go ahead and talk another one while I get us freaking access.
Oh, okay, cool. So, alrighty, I will let you come back for that one. And, okay, so a worker in Florida applied for 60 entry-level jobs in September and got one interview. Hey, Devin. This is from Yahoo News and Business Insider. So the bullet points here are, so businesses across the U.S. say they are struggling to find employees. Haven't we all heard this? Especially for hourly work. Joey Holes decided to test their claims, submitting 2 applications a day in September. He got one interview, and his summary of the experiment went viral on multiple platforms. So, yeah, basically, you keep hearing this, nobody wants to work anymore. This is a guy, and, what actually influenced him, however, was this guy went on a quote. This guy went on a rant about how he can't find help and he can't keep anybody in his medical facility because they all quit over the stimulus checks. And he's like, your medical professionals quit over $1,200 checks? That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So basically what ended up happening was he went all the way through this. He had sent out 60 applications. He received 16 email responses, 4 follow-up phone calls, and 1 interview. Yeah. So on September 29th, 58 applications, quote, 58 applications says y'all aren't desperate for workers, you just miss your slaves.
Well,
basically.
for me, see, this is a problem, and here's the problem:
Mm-hmm.
where they're complaining that they have lost so many workers, blah blah blah, and it's not just that.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
it's
so
not
this
just that.
isn't working, so I guess I'll have to call the Gazette tomorrow.
Oh no.
Yeah, no wonder their subscription is down.
Can't work. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Oh, poor Gazette Mail.
Yeah, and people wonder why
Oh.
newspapers are failing. All right. So anyhow, here's my thing. We have lost around 400,000 working humans in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Then 28 million decided, you know what? I'm done with this shit. I have retirement. I have a 401k. I've worked my life. I'm retiring. So that
Mm-hmm.
puts up to 25 million jobs available.
Mm-hmm. Supposedly. But what has fundamentally been happening for decades, and
Mm-hmm.
I watched this happen in a call center environment, was effectively you would look at something, and this is just for argument's sake, a department with 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one leaves, the work gets redistributed over 5 people. Everyone's pretty good at their jobs, they've been there for a while. It's okay. Not optimal, but hey, we're gonna hire someone soon, right? And they don't. And so then one more person leaves. They retire, they quit, they find another job, whatever happens there. And then they divide that work over 4 people. And it's okay. It's still a little stressful. It works. Then the fourth person leaves. Again, retires, quits, gets sick of the long hours. Now the work's divided over 3. And typically what starts happening there is it gets to a point that no one can take a day off
Mm-hmm.
because you either fear what you will walk back into or you fear having to like doing that to your coworkers
Right.
because it's too much to handle. Eventually what happens is one person will either, quit, drop dead, or flame out, as in blaze of glory, take this job and shove it level, flame out. They snap, they've had it, they're pressed too
Postal.
hard, we're down to 2 people. And then fundamentally what ends up happening is if you have a good employer at that point, your 2-person department will run for a while and everyone will be on the verge, those 2 people will be on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
At best, if you're a good employer now, in the 21st century, you will effectively go out and hire some part-timers after carving some duties, like 2 part-timers, maybe just one. After carving some of those duties, some of the menial tasks off of those 2 remaining employees, like what could any idiot do? You'll pay those workers minimum wage, of course. They're part-time, so they don't qualify for benefits. The company still sees a optimal efficiency there, because what the company keeps learning is that we didn't need 6 people, we needed 5. We didn't need 5 people, we only needed 4. We didn't need 4 people, we only needed 3. We didn't need 3 people, we could do it with 2. Okay, 2 was too few, we need to add someone for some menial task.
Mm-hmm.
But fundamentally what you end up with is this work environment of those 2 people, even with those tasks carved off onto a part-time worker. Those 2 remaining full-timers are not just working 40-hour weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They're typically working at least 50, 60, maybe more if you start counting in what they're doing from home, what they're doing on the weekend, what they're doing on their phones to try to, make all this work together, and keep things running. They're at best taking like a day or a few hours to go to a doctor's appointment. And that's after that part-timer starts. Before that, it's like, I can't even. Like there's no way, I'll be forever behind.
Right.
So they go through their careers, ignoring their health, ignoring their families, probably going through a divorce or not even having time to date. Because, hi, I've been there. Once you hit about 70 hours a week, you don't have time to date. Like that's where I was in my last job.
Right.
Now, granted, our situation was an artificial.
Right.
Our company had this idea, because some other company had said that only 3 people were needed for an IT department, that we were overstaffed at 4. I really want to meet that 3-man IT department or 3-person IT department and ask some questions.
Right.
Because I'd say none of them had, job satisfaction.
Well, I'm quite sure they didn't have job satisfaction. I'm also quite sure that they didn't have a clue. In general, of course, your department wasn't respected at all for what you brought the company.
Oh, God, no.
In general.
Yeah. Well, but the long-term effects of this is that you end up in a situation where, like, if you want to understand why people are saying, everyone's lazy and no one wants to work anymore, it's because the definition of what a full-time job is has shifted so horribly.
Right.
That, you have these people that are doing the work of like 2, 3, maybe 4 employees, still making their same, maybe got some bonuses, etc., and some, pay raises for what they are based on what they originally made as one employee doing one job, trying to justify to younger generations that, and it comes across like an abused spouse.
Right.
Like the abused spouse that holds up the tennis bracelet and says, no, he really loves me. Battered, bruised, bruises all over their face. No, he really loves me. Look at the trinket. And it's like, no, sweetheart, a 401k, a moderately sized house, and an affordable car, not really motivating me to work 80 hours a week, 60 hours a week.
Right. And the other side of this, however, is we've got a job vacuum. It's quite commonly known that, COVID affected most of the older populations. So those higher level positions are now available. And then you have people that have made decisions that, they worked for the extras, vacations, being able to do this extra, that extra. They don't need to. So the scummy bosses who pay low pay and have no benefits, and we've looked at even some of the job descriptions on here that is ridiculous. They can't compete.
And that's also this consolidation of positions
command center
of, like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, is how a lot of those positions end up so insane. One, they're built around one person, typically, who was doing the job or has done the job, without actually considering what's needed and whether that position is actually legitimate, or if you've done that contraction of positions and left yourself with this Franken job.
Right.
That, only good old Bob could do, because only good old Bob had, the relevant skills, experience, time with the company, understanding of customers, whatever, the giant list that made him capable. or her
Right.
or they capable of doing that job. Because I've run into those and they're ridiculous.
Right.
It's like, hi, we need a master's level, employee with 10 years experience for an entry level position, for like 24,000 a year.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Like, that's where my brain goes is, what? It's like, and I ended up applying for a few of those jobs. And I actually met at one point before I left North Carolina with a tech recruiter that flat out said, in any other job market, you're a good candidate. You're ticking all the boxes that should be there. He said, but right now, and granted, this is 2010, I have master's level, people, employees, who their last job, they made at least 85 a year, if not six figures, willing to take the same jobs you qualify for.
Right.
Because they're just trying to hold on to their mortgage until this all rides out.
Right.
And it's like, I'm screwed, aren't I? And he's like, well, I can't tell you that. It's like, yeah, basically.
Yeah. But, and this is a problem. This will be a cultural shift. We also have a lot of people that are now valuing other things. The ability to work from home. The ability to work from anywhere. Doesn't matter as long as you don't have to go into the office. It's about once a quarter and you can do a business trip for that. And then we have other people that have just said, you know what? I have a year to figure out what I want to do. What do I want to do? Oh, I want to do this. Okay, I'm going to take the class online. Me and the kids can all do school. By the end of this, by the end of COVID, they had a degree and they moved on. Employers are going to have to up their game. We have already seen it in the fast food industry. We've got places paying daily. We've got extended benefits. We've gotten pay out of the world, comparatively. I mean, not where it should be, but much more than what it was.
Yeah. Well, but then we're also dealing with the part-timers as well. And fundamentally, they end up being employees that are combining, like that as like one or two jobs, or a job plus a side gig plus, school plus whatever,
right?
And trying to make it all work. And no, I think this is definitely where we get into like, the kids of of the millennials and Gen X, showing up for these jobs going, I don't think so.
Exactly.
Because it's like, I watched mom and dad divorce, fight, work themselves into an early grave, never saw them. They weren't there for anything. You know what I mean? It's like, no.
And then, we're not, there's no way right now to be counting the side hustle, left hustle, right hustle. Oh, I can take care of that. Oh, you know what? I only need, this, and we've had this discussion, I don't know if we've had it on the show, but the discussion of the people now that pay for experiences, they don't pay for, a house of 30 years because they have a house. The parents bought a house. They now own the house. You can't go buy a new car right now. And if you have a car, well, you either have payments and it's going to get close to being paid off. Because we're now almost 2 years into this. So you could literally have bought a car at the beginning of the pandemic and it will be paid off in 6 months.
Well, that's one, assuming it hasn't gone back for non-payment.
Right.
Because a lot of people have, lost everything.
Right. And a lot of people have just picked up and left. Where we're seeing a lot of complaints about this is from places that they had one company, one job, everyone done that job, everyone worked that job. Well, people had a whole year to figure out where they wanted to live and what they wanted to do. And, we're even seeing it. I was talking to you about a news story, and we don't have it pulled up for tonight, but we'll go ahead and talk about it. There's this place out in Illinois that is paying people $5,000 and giving them grandparents on demand to move there.
Mm-hmm.
Or
And the
most
grandparents on demand thing is meant as a child care resource.
childcare,
Yeah.
baseball game support, whatever, because it's one of the bigger things.
Mm-hmm.
So they're beating West Virginia about trying to attract these remote workers.
Well, now West Virginia did do 12,000 a year. A park pass for every park in the state. You know, I'm just saying, like a lot of
But
areas
West
are.
Virginia didn't have the infrastructure.
Oh God, no, no, no,
Okay.
no.
That's the thing. West Virginia doesn't have public transit. West Virginia doesn't have high speed internet everywhere. West Virginia doesn't have cell service everywhere.
Yeah, no.
Okay. This was one town. It can focus you. They've got literally other things that are going into this, but you're
Mm-hmm.
being paid to move there. I'm actually looking at it
Okay, there you go.
because I remote work.
Yeah. But no, I like it's gonna end up being an interesting fallout.
Hmm.
And what kills me is Wall Street Journal has fought very hard on this idea that workers just need to suck it up and get back to the office.
Well, and that's because
Um,
that's the message that they want to send.
well,
That's
that's the message that most of the readers, because if
Mhm.
you've ever had a Wall Street Journal subscription, that shit's expensive. So most of their readers make decent money.
Wall Street
Um,
Journal is not that expensive.
Wall Street Journal, I thought it was. Well, it was back in the day. Okay, poor broke college student at the time. I had to have it for a class. I remember it was like 100 and something a year,
Uh huh.
and it was like, God, that's a textbook. I mean, a crappy textbook, but a textbook.
Actually, the New York Times and Wall Street Journal is the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's $4 per month.
Okay, so it's come down a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, back in the day, you could kind of tell, like, all the advertising was geared to six-figure plus.
Mm-hmm.
All of the articles are geared towards managerial people,
Mm-hmm.
like at least middle management up, typically C-level executive up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's their core audience. These are the people who gladly pay for their Wall Street Journal.
Right. Well, and I really am getting sick and tired of hearing about this. Well, the government gave them money so they don't have to work. Joe, you do our finances, and we're a very conservative house.
Yeah. Um, just being nice about it. Yeah, 1,200's crap.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. One, to even think that, like, what, and I'm not, and I, to anyone who makes that a month, I like,
We get it.
it really is crap.
Yeah.
Not that you are, that level of pay is crap.
Right.
Like, that is nothing.
Right.
And I know if you're making that and watching this, you are struggling beyond means of like comprehension. But no, it's $1,200 anymore is about where rent is.
Right. It's 1 month's worth of rent a lot of times. So this is my thing. Government gave out 3 stimulus checks.
$3,600 spread over a year.
Spread over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people can make money last that long.
I don't know how you make like, even if you divide it up 300 a month.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, what magical fantasy world are you living in where $300 a month is something you could live off of?
Right.
Like that you could function on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of this has been the enhanced unemployment benefit. And I'm again going, it's still not that much money.
Right. Like, where in the world, in Carmen Sandiego's brain, do these people come up with this baloney?
I don't get it.
I don't either.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I cannot figure it out. I cannot understand it.
Mhm.
I'm sitting here going, if we had to drop down, if we just had to drop down to $1,200 a month,
Mm-hmm.
we have utilities that are basically that.
Yeah, if not more, depending on the month of the year. February, honey, you're gonna have real fun. Like all
Yeah.
the prep you had. By the way, he now is king of finances. I get to hear how much kilowatt per hour we're spending, but
No, I'm not that bad.
yeah. Um, but this is something I've started doing is passing things off, rotating responsibilities. And I really think this is an important thing for small business owners to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know. I've always been a one man band, one man show, everything. And it's been really interesting handing things off and going, deal with it, make a decision. I don't have the bandwidth for this.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people have done. A lot of people have said, I'm kicking my ass against the wall here. I can't get everything done. I'm working 2 part-time jobs and a full-time job. What am I getting out of it?
Yeah. Well, and moreover, the money isn't going as far as it used to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there was a point where if you broke the 6-figure ceiling,
Uh-huh.
you were pretty comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who broke the 6-figure ceiling was pretty flippin' comfortable. But anymore, if you're talking about a family of 4, that's almost becoming required.
Yeah.
It just is.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at childcare expense, the expense of adding on people to, the little ones, to health insurance, and just on down the line, all the additional expenses and everything has gone up, including
Mm-hmm.
the price of housing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really where it used to be.
No.
And that's kind of sad. Like 6 figures used to be like the magic thing.
Well, I remember when 4 figures were the magic thing. I'm sure when we're clearing out the files up in the attic, we will find one of my old check stubs. When I made $900 for 2 weeks worth of work and thought that we were rolling in gold. I was half dead, but we were rolling in gold.
Well, but moreover, at the time, the money actually was good.
Yeah. Because, I remember running this house on $387 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's now our power bill in January.
At least. Oh.
And y'all guys go, oh, he's getting sold. No, it's been that much of a change, and that has only been in the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
The same apartment that I first rented for $350 a month, all utilities, is now renting for $850, and now it's no utilities.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and by the time I left North Carolina, my first apartment has been torn down.
Uh-huh.
First real apartment, my name on the lease,
Mm-hmm.
from 2005. That building has been torn down. That whole complex, excuse me, has been torn down.
Mm-hmm.
And then turn around, and the second apartment I was in, I'm curious right now how bad it's gotten, because it was going up before I left. That was part of the make or break moment, was my rent was going up by like $100 a month if I renewed.
Right.
So I'm just curious now,
Mm-hmm.
what that apartment complex is going for. Um, I'm trying to see floor plans. Is it under floor plans still? Holy crap. Is that's it. Holy crap. Rent is $987 to $1343 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 730 square foot apartment.
And they measured every inch of that square footage.
Oh, they so measured every last inch of that apartment. Yeah.
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 All right. If you look in your private box, you have a copy of the story from West Virginia News.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah. Let's move over and talk about that.
Well, I'll let you lead that one.
Well, so everyone knows that the state of West Virginia has lost their freaking mind when it comes to needle exchange and HIV prevention. And matter of fact, we have the CDC here yet again for this issue. Guys, we have been fighting this issue as long as I can remember being an adult. And I don't know what has gotten into the brains. Maybe they went over and, while they were drinking the Kool-Aid, went up to Illinois and looked at their health care plans. But lead into the bullshit they're doing now.
All right, so the news story is entitled HIV Response Continues in Kanawha, Cabell County. State expected to unveil Kanawha response plan. All right. So basically what has happened is the CDC has written a report in which line item 1 was, please get a legitimate needle exchange program. That is still not what the West Virginia has done. No, they have decided that their only response is going to be to continue looking at the report and see what they can legally do according to state law, and definitely hire more HIV intervention specialists and make sure that everyone has access to medication to treat HIV. Okay, real quick, simple bottom line. Cost of the needle exchange program, $20 a year per person. General rough estimate for HIV treatment per year, $20,000 per person. I don't know, West Virginia. It seems like a real easy thought here. After you have 31 IV drug use related HIV infections, the leading cause of HIV infection in the state of West Virginia, and you are now on the hook, probably one way or the other, for, at least short term, like $620,000. Maybe drop a little money and get over your bullshit with needle exchange.
Well, not only that, we get over this righteous bullshit. All right, so I'm going to do some little math for everybody here. And I've done this math before, so we'll do it again. We have 31 new victims of this plague.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On average, let's say that they just mate before they found out with one person, which is very unlikely. So we have another 31.
Well, and I think we also have to pay attention to the spread of it. And granted, needle spread is one of the more, it's one of the easiest. I'm looking real fast. Incident of HIV spread by needle. Ba 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 ba. Oh, come on. Really? I have to read through Desk Avoid crap.
Mm-hmm. Because they're
Ah,
still stigmatizing the whole freaking thing.
yeah. Like, can I not just get... Oh, well, I was in the ads section, you know. Ba 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 ba. Oh, and I inadvertently got needle stick, not needle sharing. That was my fault. I should have put that in there. Oh. Yeah, so 23% of people aged 50 and older shared syringes, 30% of people aged 40 to 49 shared syringes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people sharing needles. All right, I'm trying to see. Da, 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 da. Oh, come on. Can there not be easy statistics?
No, aren't easy.
Well, I'm meaning though, like I'm being very like
Syringes, Ashley, for IV drug users.
yeah, needle exchange so that intravenous drug use doesn't is done with a clean needle every time instead of a shared needle.
Right.
But no, I was trying to find the rate of infection because I know it is one of okay. People who inject drugs are 22 times more at risk of HIV compared with the general population.
Mm-hmm.
That's your quick, easy statistics.
Right. So the hard math statistics is where you could look at about 1,003 people being possibly infected from just this 36 people before they even had a test result.
Well, and that's also one of the bigger issues is you think that, COVID has a long incubation time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, can HIV go for a while?
Yeah.
Because theoretically you're up to potentially 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I mean, and let's just get real here. A fair number of people who use IV drugs
Mm-hmm.
will also look for ways to pay for their habit that may involve prostitution.
Yes.
And when you're in that situation, you're often pressured to have sex without a condom. So if your judgment is already impaired through the drugs that you're taking,
Mm-hmm.
you're working in you're doing sex work to earn money for your drugs. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
You're potentially creating a chain reaction
Right.
of spread.
Right. And we've seen this play out. We know how this gambit goes. We have been through this together. Um, with our lovely former vice president when he was governor of Illinois.
Yes.
This is a copy of that freaking playbook. The CDC had to go in and take over their health department. The CDC had to go in and fix everything that was wrong there. And still, we lost lives to the longest plague we've ever had.
Yeah.
Not to
Well,
mention the shame and the aggravation and the bullshit coming with it.
mm-hmm. And what kills me is West Virginia currently right now today feels like they have a better answer
Uh-huh.
than New York Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia has the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it apparently ain't the right answer for at least 1,008
31 people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for at least 31 so far, and we have reduced testing events
Mm-hmm.
because COVID is eating up everything.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going
yeah.
to say this again, and I've said this before. If you are over the age of sexual activity, then you need to have a talk with your doctor. It needs to be part of your medical plan that every 6 months, at minimum, you get your blood work done. Don't care. Don't care if you're being an IV drug user, has substance abuse problems, or not. If you think that your man has been a virgin since the day that you guys met, if you've been a virgin since the day you guys met, it doesn't matter. It is part of you being healthy.
Well, yeah. Moreover, it is not a hard test.
No.
It really isn't. This is not a burn when you pee, swab up the urethra. This is just a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
Or even better, if you decide to listen to nothing else right now, you can get an HIV only test that is an oral swab.
Yep.
Like, if you are that, I hate needles, I don't want blood work, don't do the blood work, just do the oral test. Just start with it. Just do it. It's quick. It's easy. It takes 5 minutes. I'm not even joking.
Yep.
So, I'm just saying. And yes, regardless of who you are, how saintly or not you are, you deserve your health. You did not. And I especially want to go out to the people that got lost with sex ed.
Right.
Just for a moment. That were basically given the wrong information. That one, safe sex exists. It doesn't. It's a joke. Or should be. Because the way we teach safe sex ends up creating people that feel like they either are 100% good at it or they deserve whatever they get because they were bad.
Mm-hmm.
You don't deserve an STD.
No.
Get tested. Feel free to punch anyone you need to punch to take care of your health.
Right.
Don't let other people make you feel bad. And more importantly, don't let other people tell you that, oh, you're in a monogamous relationship, you don't need that. Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
I'm sorry, have you seen our divorce rate? Do you know what the leading causes of divorce are? Affairs? Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as what lab does them, all labs that are running your other medical testing can do them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super quick and easy.
Yes.
It really is.
So, yes, please go do that. The only way to stop HIV is to stop the spread.
Mm-hmm. No, Devin, you were not stupid.
No.
I'm not going to read it out loud just because, but no, you weren't stupid. Like, erase that from anything to do with your sexual identity and the sex you have. You're not stupid. You made a choice in a moment. That choice had consequences. And hopefully you were able to deal with those with nice, decent professionals who helped you take care of the problem and didn't treat you like you were stupid or like you were garbage. And if they did treat you like that, again, you have my permission to punch them. This is a health issue.
Right.
No one deserves to be treated like that for something so very much at the core of being human.
Right. And very much at the core of that's health. It happens. We get colds, we get flus, we have allergies. All those are medical situations. This STI thing needs to start being a medical situation.
Yeah. And treat it only as that.
Yeah.
It's not about anyone being stupid. It's not about people being sluts and whores. And I really hate slut shaming.
I don't do it.
And no one deserves a sexually transmitted infection, regardless of what they do.
All right. So the next one we're going to be taking on is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably not all going to agree on our viewpoints of it. That's okay. A woman that wanted to die while her euthanization was canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see which country this is. It's Brazil? Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Finally got the right to euthanize. The right to die with yeah.
Yeah.
The right to die with dignity. The right to choose when you leave this planet.
Mm-hmm.
She has ALS. That disease is not a pretty disease. It's not even a nice disease. And because she's the first one to be covered under this right, of course, news media wanted to have interviews about it and interviews to her. And because she'd gotten the relief that she would not spend years being tortured as her body slowly fails in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed happy and joyful. Oh, I don't know. Much like, chronic pain patients can seem happy and joyful and be in a 10. I think it's despicable. I think it's despicable that this board ripped that away from her. I think it's despicable that we even have to have this decision.
Well, and here's where there's some questions over whether a lot of this has to do with Colombia's heavy Roman Catholic influence.
Right.
Because there's a lot of debates surrounding right to die.
Mm-hmm.
And any legislation there or anywhere that allows it. We got into this back in the 90s in the US with Dr. Kevorkian.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very squeamish subject.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people.
Right.
And ultimately, I think you have to treat it as an individual's decision.
Right.
In so much as some people may feel that, okay, I have this diagnosis, I will just, when it's my time to go, I'll go. I'll just go through it. But other people are going, this is not what I want to do. I do not want to slowly become a prisoner of my body. I am already, or in other instances, I'm terminal. I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Let me choose how.
Right.
Like, do I have to sit here and suffer all the way through till my body finally shuts down?
Mm-hmm.
Versus, being given a choice that lets me, maximize whatever time I have left and whatever maximum abilities I have left. And then as this is getting ready to become a prison sentence or a torture sentence or both, make a decision that, okay, this is where we stop. This is our exit ramp.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I get off.
Right.
Because fundamentally, we there's a lot of issues there. There's costs of long-term care, which for a lot of people are a very big part of the decision. Because especially in, situations in which you're going to require 24/7 care, that is expensive, and most people do not have the resources for that.
Right.
Many people will respond as that's a family's responsibility. Again, some people don't have family, and some people don't want to inflict that on their family.
Right.
They're not comfortable knowing that someone else or multiple someone's else are going to have to pause their lives to take care of them. And make no mistake, that is very much what caregiving does. It does put you in a position where you, the caregiver, have to pause large chunks of your life to take care of someone else.
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't want to. It doesn't mean you don't care about that person, but there is a cost.
And, it's not only that, but it's also the human experience. And Mary says it's terrible that hospice with palliative care is not in every country. No, it is terrible that hospice with palliative care is not in every country. But there are some diseases that reach a level that it's no longer hospice with palliative care. It's storing a body that is operating without a driver.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or worse, it's storing a body with a driver.
Right.
That can't get out.
Right.
ALS is very much known as kind of a coffin disease.
Mm-hmm.
As in, it's like waking up in a coffin. You can't get out. You can't do anything to change your situation on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're fundamentally losing control of your body, even at the most primary levels.
Right.
Yeah. And there are also thoughts that, some forms of dementia are very much the same.
Right.
Or at least there have always been questions because we don't know.
Right.
I don't think hardly anyone has gotten dementia and
Right.
come back from that to explain it.
Exactly.
Granted, there are people who come back from comas that have explained that, it's not quite what you think it is.
Right.
And some people, it's a long time before they're able to, speak and move once they have recovered from their coma.
Right.
So, and that's again where you find out that the experience wasn't what you thought.
Right. And, this case in point alone, this poor woman, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name, she cannot walk without assistance. She is in intense pain. She requires assistance to dress, shower, and do imminent hygiene.
Oh, intimate
hygiene.
Yeah.
And the only thing is her body will continue to shut down. Now, we had to fight.
Effectively, this is a human being waiting for the point in which her body is no longer able to handle the involuntary muscle contractions for breathing and heart function. Like, that's where she's at.
Right.
Without being or being given access to
Euthanasia.
euthanization. Without that, she is left to wait for her body to deteriorate to a point in which either her heart stops because her body can't handle that involuntary muscle function anymore, or her lungs stop. That's a seriously frustrating place to imagine being at. That you're going to continue to have brain function as you slowly lose everything down, and the only thing you have left to look forward to is that at some point your heart or your lungs will stop, and there will come a point in this disease process in which that's all you got to look forward to every single morning when you wake up, is that one day, like, I'm sorry, I struggle to know how anyone could hear that and not go, that just sounds like pure torture. How do you possibly tell someone to just keep going?
Yeah. How do you kill someone that don't care if your pain is to the point that opiates will not touch it? Phenergan patches will not touch it. Oh, you've lost the ability to speak, so you can't tell us what pain you're in.
Yeah.
Well,
so now we're left with guessing.
Yeah, now we're left with guessing. Now they're left, at one point they will be left with, well, she can't take food or water in, so do we put a feeding tube in, or do we let her starve?
Well, and that may be the other point, in which, if that is an option in Colombia, that if she is allowed, one, to make a, no heroic measures, no feeding tubes, no life support devices of any kind, then yes, there's possibility. But then there's also the problem that you might get overruled. It's kind of scary, the things that are not guaranteed. Because it's like people with a DNR card. Unless you can produce the card, they're going to keep trying to restart your heart and your breathing. Until someone comes up with a card. That's why they tell you to put it on the refrigerator.
Right.
I will say that is probably the worst part of hospice, side note, is every time you go to get something out of the refrigerator, you have a big giant orange card that reminds you that, if something happens, no one's going to do anything about it. So everything you've been taught about, if someone quits breathing or grabs their chest and, or has a stroke, all those stroke symptoms you're supposed to watch out for, that every time you walk into a kitchen, you get the big giant fluorescent orange reminder of what's actually going to happen because of that DNR card. Is you don't call 911.
Right.
Like, first of all, that's the one thing you're not supposed to actually do.
Right.
But it's so ingrained
Mhm.
as part of our life. It's really a lot of people end up doing it.
Right.
Just because that's what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
Someone can't breathe.
Right.
You call 911 by instinct, or
Right.
you think you're supposed to.
Right. And it's a lot of reprogramming. But this is
Mhm.
another topic that has been so shamed into the American psyche. It is ridiculous.
Mhm.
And I'm going to state this: I don't care if, as long as you are over the age of 18, you have the right to decide what measures of medical care do you want to preserve your life. Please
Mhm.
go and fill out that paperwork. Please take
Yes.
that paperwork and have it filed with the local hospital and another hospital, and keep a file for yourself. And make sure that everyone knows where it is so that they can get it and produce it.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot, they've improved a lot, but they still have not improved to where they need to be. And now West Virginia has a database of it, which is wonderful.
Mhm. West Virginia does have an advanced directive database.
Right.
But additionally, I believe you still have to be very careful when you travel
Yes.
because I don't think there's full reciprocity with it.
There isn't, unfortunately. Of course, this isn't a national system, and some
Well,
states don't even have to recognize any of the paperwork. Example: Joe and the Invisible Assistant have emergency medical in the state of West Virginia. If we are in Ohio, Ohio doesn't have to recognize it.
what advanced directives?
What advanced directives?
We don't recognize that.
Yeah.
And for some states, it's also because there's certain verbiage that you have to use.
Mm-hmm.
Other states don't necessarily recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Or more importantly, it's not the same as their verbiage.
Right.
So yeah, it can be a mess.
Yeah.
It's a significant consideration if you have this paperwork that you be very, very careful
Mm-hmm.
about what you do once you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Moreover, that if you move, you have to change it.
Right.
And again, we're not attorneys. You may have other options for travel.
Mm-hmm.
And you may want to seriously consider those if there's even a remote possibility.
Right.
Especially if you're traveling with someone who is, for instance, terminal or has a very high likelihood they might enter into, a situation
Mm-hmm.
and need that paperwork.
Right. And don't count on merit. Straight people, well, now I guess also gay people now, count on their marriage licenses to give them those executive rights.
Ooh. And that's a knife that can cut both ways,
Right.
which is a large part of why West Virginia quit using, or one, created a database, but two, quit using the old school advanced directives.
Uh-huh.
Because it used to be you could just fill this paper out, say what you wanted, and get two witnesses to sign.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that became a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the wishes you stated on that paperwork
Mm-hmm.
and the wishes of your spouse didn't agree,
Mm-hmm.
you could get into a very ugly legal predicament
Mm-hmm.
in which the court is trying to figure out, and it varied by location and probably even by judge,
Mm-hmm.
as to which one they counted or weighted heavier. And also depending upon how old it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, were you already married to this person when you filled out this paperwork? Has it been like 20 years? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen if we honor your wishes. Like, it got into some ugly court cases.
It did, and it still gets into ugly court cases. I've had to execute before with a, no, you have to let me through.
Yeah.
Here is the paperwork. I have authorization. You have to let me through.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it is scary. And yes, hospitals in West Virginia are very much pressing that people go ahead and get their correct medical power of attorney paperwork done.
Yes.
Because previously there was a big push on the advanced directives, or also known as a living will.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still walking around with paperwork that says advanced directive or living will, you need to double check that.
Right.
Because those are very old terms.
Mm-hmm.
The current terms are medical power of attorney. And again, we're not lawyers. Speak to your own.
Right.
But if you have a combined medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney,
Durable.
you may also want to see your lawyer about that.
Yes.
Because they've started to like those as separate documents now.
Mm-hmm. And separate people.
With separate people.
Yeah.
So that the person who's deciding whether you live or die is not also the same person who decides how to spend your money.
Mm-hmm.
Because that can bring up its own problems.
Right. But, and also the whole, and you guys, we're not scaring you. These are things that people should be doing as adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get your, and I really wish it was this. You get your high school diploma and you meet with a lawyer the next day.
Well, and then every 10 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, seriously, think about it in 10-year chunks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when you get a little further down the road, 5-year chunks.
Mm-hmm.
As to what is your health, what is your life expectancy, what are your medical conditions, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And because those are opinions that can change.
Yeah.
And they very much do. When you're 18 and in a car accident,
mm-hmm.
a lot of people do not want to necessarily, so to speak, give up. If they are in a coma, they will, go ahead and do feeding tubes and hope that at some point, this very young body can heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
But as you age up and you have other medical conditions and other situations,
mm-hmm.
What you want can change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay that it does.
Yeah.
Like the idea of being 75 in a car accident and you miraculously somehow survive it, but end up in a coma and on a feeding tube, and they're going to keep bringing you back no matter how many times your body tries to die. You really should think about that. Is that what you want at 75?
Mm-hmm.
What would you be coming back to if, even on the optimistic side, in 10 years, you come out of this coma?
Right. Devin, we're sorry for your loss. We're sorry that these are hitting home for you. Losing anyone is always a hard thing. Yes. All right, so Mino Hannah asked the question. And Ashley's got a question above that. So let's take Ashley's and then we'll do that. Do Mino Hannah.
Alrighty, well, let's start with Ashley. So Ashley's mother-in-law, 92971, is Megamind healthy, and is Richard with new business or yesterday's news on the romantic playing field?
All right. Mega Man, I do feel is healthy. Richard is yesterday's news, in my opinions. I think you guys really have to work. He'll pop back up like a bad Yahtzee game, but it's your choice if you go back with it or not. Okay, and small update, but nothing official from CVS yet. You'll be getting something official soon. They're just being slow. All right, let's go to Nohana.
So yeah, Yumi. Why? Oh, 72694. Why did Amy block me?
I feel that they blocked you to get space. It's more of a restraint for them to take the space.
All right, and Devin 31678. Will this job I just took work out?
Take a look here. Yeah, actually, it works out really well for you. Better money, and it also looks like they'll even probably pay for some education coming up. Okay. So our favorite con artist has been cited in a House Ethics Committee.
Oh, fun. So you're going to have to lead with this one. I don't have the login.
Okay. So for those that don't know, I have a personal vendetta currently against one of our lovely Republicans representatives, Alex Mooney. He is one of four, count them four, representatives that have been cited with ethics violations.
Okay.
So,
How unsurprising.
Kim Kelly, Representative Kim Kelly of Pennsylvania, is under sanctions over stock purchases by his wife that investigators say were affected by his actions as a member of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Tim Malavici, Democrat for New Jersey, is facing allegations that he failed to properly disclose hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock trades.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Alex X. Mooney, of course, representative of West Virginia, our favorite con man, next to, Big Jim the Dum Dum, improperly used campaign funds for personal expenses. So I dug a little bit deeper into this. What was these personal expenses that he used on?
Okay.
Guys, he paid for Chick-fil-A. He paid for a fishing trip. He paid for a spa day out of his campaign funds.
Yeah, something tells me this falls in the category of he's just not someone you want to hand a debit card to. And I can't say I don't understand that one, especially when you are, if you do not keep if you do not keep the payment devices, aka debit cards, separate, it can be very easy to grab the wrong card.
Oh no!
Just since we have added one more account for the same bank, to our household, or more importantly to my wallet, I have already grabbed the wrong card once.
And I get once.
Mm-hmm.
Once is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He paid for things such as Chick-fil-A, Panora, frequent visits to fast food, Taco Bell, a variety of pizza vendors near his home, and there were no clear campaign purposes of spending. Then he done it 2 more times.
Oh, goody.
Yes. And he labeled them in his expense report as site visits.
Okay, now see, that's where things get shady.
Okay. He took
That's where things get.
$2,444 in campaign funds for a visit to Canyon Valley Resort. Then he turned around and spent $320 on a private guided fishing tour of the Smoky Hole Resort. So this isn't just like, ooh, crap, I used the wrong card. Let me put the money back in the account. This is purposely using the card to pay for your everyday expenses.
Well, and then going the one step further.
Yes.
Which is, even once you know that, like, even if it's an ups, you went the one step further. You still tried to claim it as a business expense, or more importantly, a campaign expense.
Yeah. Chick-fil-A is not a campaign expense. Last time I checked.
Theoretically, it could be. Theoretically, it could be if he had bought lunch for campaign staffers, bought lunch for the office. There's a possibility. See your own accountant for this, but I would think there would be an opportunity there that you could count that the same as one would a business expense.
Right.
That
but
you
not
bought
your
lunch for your
run through bigot sandwich.
Well, I mean, Republicans going to eat where Republicans going to eat.
I know, pigs slop in a hole all the time, but when you go and spend for vacations on your campaign funds, while you're filling everybody's email boxes, and let me remind you that, during the January 6th event, Mooney's campaign was one of the campaigns begging for money in their backers' emails. So he could order pizza to the White House, to the Capitol. Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, that's not, I mean, on its face, and assuming, there is not a legitimate, like, hi, this is how this is a campaign, like, because there's still an opportunity to defend it. Is what I would understand. From this, is there still an opportunity for him to defend it? But yeah, if this comes out on the other side as an indefensible expense, then yeah, that's exactly where that ends.
Right.
Is you solicited campaign donations and then use them for your own personal benefit. Like, no, not cool. But then again, I think a lot of our elected officials, one, seem to keep having a problem with this, and two, I think it has a lot to do with the way that that business owners run their business, and the things they get to claim as business expenses that really, yeah.
So what? I got to take my tarot deck with me, and I can go pay for a fishing trip out of our account?
No. No, I don't want to go there. But technically, you probably could. If you could in any way justify it as a work-based expense.
Trout readings.
Trout readings?
Okay,
you gave readings to the trout, or you're catching trout and making a reading?
Catching a trout and giving a reading.
Yeah, Mary's right there, like, Schedule C. Which is true. But I know that from I ended up in a situation with a previous employer that, because of an issue with a depreciation schedule, we had to go back through credit card statements to figure out the actual purchase price and then amortize those depreciation schedules for something that the state / the county or
Mm-hmm.
the city, I can't remember which, because the city has the same name as the county.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we had to go through all these old credit card statements to pick up all the computer purchases out of that.
Right.
And I remember being horrified because what other choice do you have? One, handed it to me because, cheapest person in the office to go through this because I know what I'm looking for, and cheapest person to do it. But more importantly, to go through that, however, you have to read every line item. Like, you can't just skip through. Like, you're looking specifically for things, but inevitably you're going to see other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting here realizing all the things that the business was paying for.
Right.
And I'm just sitting there like, this is bullshit.
Right.
What? Like, yeah, I guess you think my salary is decent.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I had a business that paid all these expenses for me before my take home, my salary would have been decent.
Mm-hmm.
It was the moment I just wanted to walk down to the owner's office and be like, are you in there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you understand the people you're paying don't get, free cell phones and free car insurance and free, whatever. They don't have a business that pays those expenses
Mm-hmm.
before they get a take-home paycheck.
Right.
Everything that they need, including the gas to get to work, comes out of their paycheck, not gets put on a corporate card and billed to this business.
Right.
And then some questionable, like, why does your wife have a card?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been here for, like, at that point, like 3 years. I've only seen the woman in the office once. So I hope she has quite the home office setup that I've never been dispatched to upgrade. Because what it sounds like is your business is paying a lot of personal expenses, which
Mm-hmm.
ties back in to this seems to be how a lot of our representatives are treating their campaign finance accounts is like
Mm-hmm.
it's a small business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no. That's
Well,
not how
here's
that
the
works.
thing. And I went and found how much he had to pay back. $12,000 to the campaign. $12,000. Okay. We know he spent $302 on a fishing trip and $2,445 on a spa trip for his family.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves the other things named in this report that he paid for, pizza delivery, Bigot chicken sandwiches, Panera bread. How much do you think that he spent on that?
Well, and I think a lot of that's going to have to do with the amounts.
Uh-huh.
Because if you're talking about a normal family size order at a fast food place,
Uh-huh.
basically if it's around $100 or less,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think you're going to have a hard time going, that was totally a legitimate campaign expense. Now, if you're talking like a $400 order,
Uh-huh.
you might be able to convince them, I would think,
Mm-hmm.
that, this was potentially you bought lunch for your campaign staffers who
Mm-hmm.
were working those phones and you got them Chick-fil-A for lunch.
Well, I get that.
But
But, you were trying to play it off as a mistake, which can commonly happen when you have multiple cards from multiple accounts.
It can, but once you start claiming it as when you go the extra step of taking the expense and then trying to justify it, that's where it shifts.
So
Like,
how much
you
do you
got to
think
be
he
careful.
spent in fast food during a 1 year campaign on his campaign budget?
Ooh, I have no idea. Like, if he were buying frequent lunches for his campaign staffers.
No, this is for him, his family.
Okay, go for it.
$9,253.
Yeah, it don't really seem like a campaign staffer got lunch.
No.
I mean, that's in that kind of vein of, no, that sounds like a lot of family expenses or a lot of very small lunches. I mean, it is a good chunk of change, but if you're considering, like, you know, an entire campaign staff, that's not a lot of money.
That's not a lot of money, but these are like $4.25, $5, $12.50, $27.50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's a significant amount of money. I'm not saying that $9,000 is not is an insignificant amount. I'm just saying, if you're talking about, you know, taking your entire, you know, or effectively buying lunch for an entire campaign staff, that sounds like a couple of lunches, depending upon how many campaign staffers you have. Because I know what our like, I have a ballpark of what our company used to spend for like a catered lunch situation, which is basically who you end up calling when you're placing an order that big. Like, you don't go around to everyone's desk. You just call, you know, Chick-fil-A catering, blah, 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 catering, da-da-da. And they do a catered, like they charge you catering rates. And they need advance notice. You don't call them at like 11:45 and go, "Hi, I need 100 pizzas."
Right.
Like, more importantly, if you ever think you're going to do that, don't ever call a pizza place and at like 11:45 a.m. and want like 100 pizzas today.
Right. Plus, he also failed. This is even better. He failed to report more than $40,000 into expenses.
Okay.
$40,000 he tried to claim on his campaign funds that were not expenses.
Ooh. So just like he wrote like checks to cash effectively.
Basically.
I mean, a little more shell gamey than that, I'm sure. But 6 of one, half a dozen the other. You basically wrote a check to cash.
He basically spent $52,000 of campaign donations. $52,000. That is more than the average income of one single West Virginian.
That's a lot of campaign donations.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, again, if you're talking about corporate donations, that may just be like part of one donor.
Right.
But when you're talking about like grassroots campaign funding,
right,
that's a lot of donors.
Yeah.
That's at least a few hundred grassroots donors.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Super PACs are evil.
Well, super PACs should be outlawed.
Yeah.
Ghost financing should be outlawed.
Yeah. Anytime you're putting money in and you don't know where it comes from. Like, hi, didn't we clarify that somewhere? I don't know. Remind me again. 9/11?
Yeah.
I personally cannot go deposit money into my own account above a certain amount without getting questions. Or moreover, I cannot just go put cash in someone else's account
Right.
without questions
Right.
as up to a certain, well, after a certain amount. And if I do enough of those transactions trying to be sneaky
Right.
and like skirt the limits, even that will be flagged as suspicious activity.
Right.
So tell me again how the idea of effectively the same thing, just in a different legal entity,
Right.
can be legal.
Right.
I've never gotten that. Is on one hand, as you know, Joe Public, I can't do this.
Right.
Like, you will treat me like a bank robber if I walk into the bank and start making a series of suspicious transactions, or if I make one really large transaction, you're going to have some fucking questions.
Yep.
Where'd that money come from?
Right. So the ECO asks, when did you charge the campaign for meals? Generally, when I visit constituents. Okay. So for when you're visiting with constituents, what do you mean? Do you mean a plan meeting? No, not necessarily. I described it as I described it earlier. A lot of site visits I do, I just walk in and say hi.
So basically walks into a Chick-fil-A, says hi, orders a sandwich, sits down, has a sandwich, considers it a campaign expense.
EOC, EC, the OCE says, so if you, let's say, go to Chick-fil-A and you're charging that to the campaign, you justify that by being their constituents at the Chick-fil-A that you spoke to. Yeah, I'm meeting with constituents. Dear God, so you know that if that is what counted as an official expense, I'd never cook again.
Well, now we've had that discussion after one of my exes pulled a stunt, and yeah. For those of you who aren't aware, I've talked about this, I know. It's hard for me not to talk about it. So back when I was in college, I was dating someone a few years older, and I always thought, here is someone who has, is a real adult, has a full-time job, and, I'm a college student with a part-time work-study gig. And I thought it was, the right words here. I thought it was very sweet and very cool, and I was super appreciative of being asked about my day at work and what have I been doing at work. Now Mary's gonna already be like, "Doe, yeah, you're ahead of me." So at one point, after we had been dating for a while, I realized that he was, every time he got the receipt, he was writing something on the top of it. And I finally asked, like, what do you keep writing on the receipts? Like, I'm interested. And he says, oh, well, I claim all of our dinners on my taxes as work expenses. I have never been so mad that all the times I thought I was being legitimately asked about work and this was a very endearing thing to me were actually just to justify that our date was a work expense. Yeah, such a scoundrel. But was a work expense that he could deduct from his taxes. I'm like, you cheap bastard. Like, that's all I had at that moment was, you cheap bastard.
Well, using Moody's logic, every trip I go to Walmart, I can write off.
At the rate you run into people you know.
Visiting customers. PR appearance.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
But in a small business sense, technically, that could
No.
be legitimate.
No.
Well, in some instances, yes.
The IRS will eat you a new one.
Not on that business dinner thing. I mean, it's been more than 7 years. I guess I can say he got away with it.
Uh-huh.
Like, I was floored. Like, that was the biggest, like, thread pull for me. Like, that was the total unravel.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
Right.
Like, that's just, and don't get me wrong, if he had been using coupons, I would have been cool.
Right.
Gift cards would have been cool. Anything, like, I don't care if you want to save money. You know, that hi, dating's expensive. I get that. But claiming it on your taxes,
Mm-hmm.
you're claiming our dates on your taxes. Like, God, that's ridiculous. But no.
Utilities. He has charged everything to his campaign. Utilities. Because his office was in the basement of his house.
Oh, good grief. Well, again, for small businesses, a portion of your utilities can be.
No. He
Yeah.
charged all.
Oh. Oh. Oh, no, you can't do that. No. Small business, you can take the square footage of your house minus the workspace and use that percentage
Uh-huh.
to charge that percentage of your utilities to the business.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
Well,
bad.
so as a representative, he already gets a stipend check for his utilities because his home office.
So he's double dipping at least on
Uh-huh.
that.
At least.
At least.
At least.
Yeah. My God.
Con man of the fucking year.
Yeah, I get the feeling he like I get the feeling his wife and I could bond over like some like shitty cheap bastard shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have an ex that's pulled some stunts. Like, girl, we can talk. Like, someone else out here will understand some of the crap you've been through. Like, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Kathy's got a question.
Alrighty, let me get back up there. So, I believe we're starting with Ashley, my daughter.
Yep.
All right, so Kathy, 92788. Ashley, my daughter, lost $400. Do you know where she lost it, or is it somewhere she can't get it back?
It's in a backpack. I think you guys need to look through the backpacks in the house. Because it was in an envelope and it got stuck in a backpack.
Okay. Hope that helps.
Hope that helps. All right. So did we have anything else on our board tonight?
Oh my goodness. So human remains found in Florida Park were Brian Landry's.
Yes.
Yeah, so dental records confirmed that the human remains found in a thickly wooded park in Sarasota County were those of Mr. Landry, a person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabrielle Petito.
We know he done it. Like, there's... The coroner in Wyoming said it was because of domestic violence.
Oh no, we've missed questions.
Oh no.
Oh! You want to take Ashley's and then we'll dig into remains?
Yes.
And I think Mary's got one she wants to ask.
You're right.
Otherwise, I'm missing it entirely.
Okay.
All right, so Ashley, 82696, is there any new movement you can see with the CVS job?
We're just waiting for them to complete the paperwork for them to give you the offer.
And can you give insight on my finances?
Let's take a look here. Looking at them, I feel like you need to manage them. Other than that, I think you'll be fine. You need to also look at what you're growing here and make sure that you're not shrinking your own tree for other people.
All right, you want to go ahead and take Mary while we're here?
Sure.
All right, Mary, 11/28/57. This full moon was explosive for me. Did you feel it too?
Almost definitely. I have been up to no good and will continue to be up to no good.
All right, so back to remains in Florida.
So apparently this area of land has been underwater since September. And when the water receded, the parents knew that this was one of the trails that he hiked, contacted police, said, we want to go check here. Go with us to protect us from the reporters.
Mm-hmm.
And they found his drop hacks with a notebook that they believe is recoverable. They're hoping to see what maybe there's a confession, a letter, or something. But they only found bones. As y'all know, with the body in water for at least a month in Florida, with who knows what animal possibly being able to eat it, they've only found bones.
Oh, wow.
Is this a good ending? No.
No.
Is it an ending that we now have two sets of parents grieving the loss of their child? Yes. This case is saddening at best.
Mm-hmm.
At best.
Very much so.
And I'm going to state this, and it may fall on deaf ears, but if you are in an abusive relationship, get out.
Yeah.
There is life out there.
Absolutely. Oh, but that is horrific. What? Okay, sorry. I was catching a part of the story that sort of wasn't part of the story.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, what? All right. So yeah, it's horrible story. It's horrible ending. For everyone involved.
Right.
So notebook, are we talking computer or are we talking notebook?
Notebook.
Okay. And are they thinking that this was probably a suicide?
They can't tell. They're having to send the bones to a
very good forensics lab.
No, anthropologist.
Yeah.
To even get details of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oy.
All right. So you have something in your private box that this is for our locals. If you send, this is ridiculous too.
Oh, Jesus. So yeah, Beckley Pride. So Beckley, West Virginia. For those of you who aren't familiar, there's a thing, and I don't know how widespread it is, so I'm going to go ahead and explain it. It may be in your neck of the woods. It may have a different name.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia has gotten big on the concept of blessing boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And what these are publicly accessible, not very large, boxes which contain like everything from like food to feminine hygiene products to you name
Socks, t-shirts.
Socks, t-shirts, things people need. And it's effectively a system of different organizations decide to put one up, take responsibility for it, they take donations for it, they restock the boxes, either with things they've purchased or had donated to them. And it's effectively take as much as you need, is the general theory. Like, typically these aren't high value items. It's not like it's stocked with computers.
Right.
It's generally out there to help people survive. And be able to get that help anonymously, where they don't have to, beg for it.
Right.
So these have been a big deal in West Virginia. What's also been happening, and very unfortunately, is these have been attacked and vandalized. Beckley Pride, theirs was vandalized on October 20th. And that was through paint. A lot of black paint, basically, to
to cover the artwork that had been there. That was to indicate that this is a blessing box, and it was also part of, because this is at a park, they want to make it noticeable for people looking for help. They want it to be.
They also want to make it fun.
Yeah, and fun.
Yeah. Because these take all forms. Beckley's is a wood box that's been painted. More importantly, it's a wood box that's been handcrafted.
Right.
Like
this box was a replacement box. They had bought a plastic sealed box.
And
the
which is the most common ones.
Yeah.
And what happened?
The doors were ripped off.
Okay, I thought they had gone through something once before, and yes, they have. But I wasn't sure if it was another group.
No, this was every box. Every box in Beckley, the doors were ripped off.
Yeah. I've never understood it, like, part of me can understand why an LGBTQI plus group, why someone would do this. Like, they're a crappy human being, and they hate anything that isn't God hates fags. And that's where they are as human beings. And to me, I can understand that to some degree.
Right.
That, okay, that's very specific and targeted. Like, okay, you're a crappy person, TBE, to be expected. There's going to be some of those. I don't get how you hate a blessing box as a concept.
Right.
And decide to destroy those in mass, regardless of the group associated. That I don't get. Like, what the hell?
Right.
Like, on one hand, I could see targeting one of a group you don't like. I think it's a horrible thing to do, but I can understand it. As a general concept, no, I don't get it.
This is ridiculous. This is not pushing propaganda. This is not trying to, do anything but help the community. And there's some person out there that is an issue. Like, apparently they do not have a clue. What?
Or multiple someones.
That continue to destroy something that's basically helping the community.
Yeah.
Now, I will give call out to the Women's Club of Beckley. Stepped up within the hour. We'll pay $100 towards the refurbishment. There's been 2 different organizations and different people that already have these blessing boxes of their own to maintain that are stepping up and going, no.
Yeah. There's actually multiple groups that really are stepping up and are just like, one, this is horrible, and two, how can we help? And sadly, I think it's come to the point where, and someone has made the suggestion, is wondering if there's a nearby business
Mm-hmm.
or any way to set up a camera.
Right.
Which, on one level, almost can defeat some of the purpose of the anonymity that it's supposed to exist in.
Exactly.
And that's really sad.
Right. But we see this everywhere. We're seeing blessing boxes, public refrigerators pop up in New York. We're seeing them pop up in other places where restaurants have leftover food. They'll stick it in a refrigerator for anyone to come get it.
Mm-hmm. Which is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone.
You ain't
Like,
doing
if
nothing.
it's not for you, if you don't need it,
Right.
leave it alone.
Leave
Leave it alone. Walk away. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like the artwork on it. You don't have to but walk away. It's helping people.
Right. Well, the boxes before this were those yellow heart-shaped boxes, the ones like we should have for on the cardboard.
Oh. They're not yellow. They're the Rubbermaid boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes some strength to rip those doors off those. It takes some.
Yeah.
How big is their hate?
Moreover, how do you hate something that's purely just helps people?
Yeah.
Though then again, I guess you could say the same thing about Planned Parenthood. You know, like abortion, this much of what they do, everything else they do for their community,
Mm-hmm.
but over the one thing.
Mm-hmm. I hope that someone has seen this, someone runs their mouth and turns them in. Yeah. All right, we got one last question, and then we're going to wrap up for tonight.
All right. So, Anne, 1979. Should I go home to help my brother with my late mom's house, or can he handle it?
Okay, and let's take a look here. I'm going to be honest. I feel you need to go home and help him with it. Could he physically handle it? Yes. Does he need the emotional support? Yes. So yeah, go home. Handle business.
All right. Before we get into the closeout, so Kathy's daughter did a reply, and I thought maybe worth asking if you had any more detail that may help her. So, not in my backpack or purse.
It's in a backpack. Go through the rest of them in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I hope that helps.
Right.
Like, maybe not one you're commonly using, or not somewhere you would typically think you would have put it.
Right.
Like, which is the unfortunate reality of losing stuff. It always ends up in like the dumb place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I put that there?
Yeah. Or why would it appear up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of whys on that front as well. Alrighty.
Alrighty then. So let's flip it over.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's been a heavy show.
It has.
A lot of heavy news. There's some other Britney news, and that'll be probably Tuesday that we'll talk about that. I want to hear a little bit more than what our news is, and I want to read over some stuff. I'm going to remind people again, you have to make it be adults. And if you have little adults, you have to be adults for them too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's highly important to be talking to your children, to be listening to your children, to be hearing what your children are saying. no matter the age, no matter what's going on, and pay attention. Okay? So, go have a conversation, go play some games, go spend some time with them, see what comes out of their mouths. You'll be surprised sometimes. But also, guys, this is a weekend. It's going to be a good weekend. There is a psychic virtual fair going on at West Virginia Psychics. You can book me for a discounted rate. Half the money does go to a charity. This month's charity is Manamil. So be sure to be checking that out. If you are interested in a reading with me, go through westvirginiapsychics.com. Go ahead and get that in league. And there's a few other psychics there that I work with. Dottie the Psychic being one of them, Bear Sage, the Melissa Alford, and of course, lovely Lady Gwendolyn. We all do great readings. We all are providing these readings with hope of making a better tomorrow. Other stuff, wash your hands, wear your mask. Michigan, you're going up in numbers. Get the plague under control and follow the guideline. We're heading into the holiday season. And just as a reminder to my baristas, your live stream will be on the 25th. And you also, in the Facebook group, have a question on whether you want a secondary activity. Be commenting and voting on that. That is not going to be your live stream. It'll be done a different time because I have to do a different setup. And yes, it will be all weekend that I am doing the Psychic Fair, Ashley. Okay.
So, of course, we love our baristas. We really appreciate our Patreon sponsors. And we do want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Gish, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, and Charles Shaw. If you'd like to learn more about the show or about us, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and enjoy all the wonderful benefits of our baristas, please check us out at PCSPnetwork.com.
Yes. And yes, Ashley, it is Monday at 8. It will be your barista chats when we will be talking about what you guys want to talk about. And, some things we want to talk about but don't want to talk about with, baristas get different insights, different pictures, different things. So we'll be talking a lot of stuff then. But no, there's a planner question. Everyone's starting to look at planners. So go in there and answer if you're interested in that. And if I get 3 or more interested, I'll do it for you guys. All right. So wash your hands, wear your mask, may your internet be strong, and deal with everything else. It will be in a Zoom and it'll be posted, Mary.
Alrighty. Y'all have a wonderful Friday night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. On time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no fight time, grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go.